Hello YouTubers, Chuck Holler, 2015, getting close to the end of the month of May. Folks, the reason I'm putting this video out here today, now I've touched base on some of this in a couple previous ones, but I've seen a lot of good, well-meaning Christians out there that I don't believe they've done their homework. And this whole Shemitah Jubilee thing is an opportunity for us as Christians to witness to our loved ones and to the unsaved. For the first time in a long time, we know what's going to happen before it happens. And it just breaks my heart that I see some people out there that are saying, well, you know, this is the Jubilee this year. Or how do we know when the Jubilee is? Or it's 2017. And you need to really be careful, folks. I know you're well-meaning, but you've got to be careful when you're adding to and taking away from Scripture. You know, there have not been 120 Jubilees. There have been 120 50-year time frames. But the Jubilees didn't start until Leviticus, and that was with Moses. This is going to be the 70th Jubilee. And I know some people have accused me of being brainwashed by Jonathan Cahn. I tell you, I haven't read either one of his books. But what I have seen of him, I find no fault in him at all. And I've seen him speak before Congress and speak before the United Nations. And God seems to have raised this Messianic Jewish person up to give a message for such a time as this. You know, 54 congressmen have pulled their money out of the stock market. Now that should speak volumes. You know, that should speak volumes. I'm going to give you a lot of information here today. And so you're probably going to have to pause and rewrite, but I'm just urging you to please be as the Bereans are and do your own research. As much as I like what Jonathan Cahn says, and I find no fault with him, I did my own research. Now, I did it based off of what, you know, he had said, and it lines up. So I've touched base on this once before, but I'm going to go into a little more detail today that will allow you to research the Jubilees yourself. You can take this all the way back to Moses if you want. If you've got the time and you want to do this, easy peasy. Now, I went back to 1474, I believe, just before Columbus discovered America, and it's very easy. You can go to Google, you can get Rosh Hashanah on any single given year. They'll give you what Rosh Hashanah was that year. And it's very easy, folks, once you start it. Now, we're going to start with the timeline, you know, because Jonathan Cahn did discover the Shemitahs. This allowed us to discover the Jubilees. And especially since the one in 1967, when Israel became the owner of Jerusalem as its capital on June 7th after the Six-Day War. What you have to understand, the Jubilee ran that year from September 15th of 66 to October 5th of 67. That's why the Six-Day War fit right in there. And where we're at with this year, the Jubilee starts on 9/13 of 2016. And it goes to October 3rd of 2017. I think that's where some of the Christians have made their mistakes here, is that, you know, every Jubilee is going to be a 2-year, cover a lot of a 2-year period, because we're dealing with a Gregorian calendar and not the Hebrew calendar. So, this is going to be the easiest way for you to do this. And once you do 1 or 2 Jubilees, you, like I say, use the same pattern, you can go all the way back. I don't know how much of this you're going to be able to see, but let me get my big fingers out of the way here. If you can see down here, I made 2 columns, 25 and 25, totaling 50. On column 50, I put the year 1516. That means 2015-16. And you can see that I just started going backwards from there. 14, 13, 12, 11. You know, you can pause this and restart it, what have you. Now, where you see the X's, those are the Shemitah years. I don't know if you saw all the way up here to the first column, but that's 66 and 67. Now, when you do your second page, that will also be your 50th column, because the Jubilee also starts the first year, like we've talked about before. Like a week, Monday through Saturday, 6 days. Sunday is the 7th day. Well, it's also the first day of the week, Sunday through Saturday. So that's the same with the Jubilees. It's the 50th, but it also is the first count of the next 49. And folks, you can take this all the way back to, well, like I said, they'll tell you exactly. The Balfour Agreement fits right into the Jubilee year. And then there's a little program, if you put down in Google, I think, what happened in history in the world, you'd be surprised at some of the stuff that you'll get for these Jubilee years. For instance, 1868 and 69 was a Jubilee. And, of course, this was right after the Civil War. You've got states of Florida, Alabama, LA, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. They are all readmitted. This seemed to be a blessing. We became a superpower, a world power at this time. Congress formed the Wyoming Territory, which included South Dakota, North Dakota, Utah, and Idaho. The 14th Amendment, this allowed ex-slaves to vote. Edison patented his first invention. Rockefeller began what's called the anti-oil war. Plastic was patented. The first gold spike to complete the Transcontinental Railroad. The first oil tanker left the United States for Europe, held 7,000. Margin was patented. We could have done without that one, I believe. The first moving picture projector was patented. The first hotel to have indoor plumbing. The Suez Canal opened. I mean, a lot of stuff was happening that year. And if you go back one more year before that, one more Jubilee year, which was 1819 to 1820, and the founder of the American Hebrew Congregation was born, along with Queen Victoria, Julia Ward Howard, Walt Whitman. The Singer sewing machine was invented. Susan B. Anthony was born. General Sherman, Karl Marx. Could have done without him too. So anyway, you can go back and do the research yourself. It's amazing. Like I said, I went back to looks like 1475. But you can take it all the way back to Moses if you want. Yeah, 1475 to 76, and then 1525, 24-25 is a Jubilee year. 1573-74, 1623-24, 1672-73, 1721-22, 1770 to 71. That was the massacre of Boston. Really, the birth of America as a nation started that year. Certain people who were born that year: William Clark from Lewis and Clark. The Shakers were first originated. The guy who invented the steam locomotive. The first photographer, DuPont the chemist. Sir Walter Scott, the inventor of lithography, the inventor of abdominal surgery. Pretty big stuff there. Lloyd's of London was established. The boundaries for Washington, D.C. were formed. Major stuff. So anyway, be as the Bereans, folks. Do the research yourself. Like I said, I went back 550 years. To me, that was enough to convince me